Hey ladies, good afternoon. Nothing like coming out after work, seeing the chickens doing their work. All right, so I told you guys last time that plans had changed and kind of was trying to figure out what I'm gonna do since our baby chicks didn't show up last week, or well, this week. They're coming next week, as long as things stay on track. And well, for you guys, it might be the same week. Depends on how quick I edit this. Anyways, I digress. So I'm going to try to get the garden addressed today. We are doing some mounds in our rows this year, and I haven't done that in the past. I've done it in the past, but not here. And I don't really have the right tool for it. I really need like, a particular like hand plow or even I forget what it's called, but it's like an angled hoe. And I don't have that, so I'm just going through and shoveling, and I've been just running out with a few minutes here and there trying to do this. And so I haven't shown you guys. So I'm going to try to show you how I'm doing it with just what are relatively basic tools. And I'm going to actually try to use one of my weeding tools to see if I can kind of break down the clumps and make it a little bit better. And then I ordered some of the heavier, thicker landscape fabric, and we're going to cover the garden this year and try to do the whole garden the way we did just some of the garden last year. And I think it's going to make for better production between our soil quality, which is continuing to improve each year, the mounding, which ought to help. Actually, I should probably cover that. So mounding in your garden, why should you do it or why shouldn't you do it? Well, the reality is some plants don't necessarily do better because of mounding, but a lot do. So when I say mounding, I don't mean individual mounds. I'm mounding up the entire row because it's just a little easier to do now. And then I can cover the entire garden and poke holes in my, my fabric later. But what this is going to do is allow better drainage, which is a big issue up here because even though we're on top of a hill, this is all clay, and so it creates like a pond effect, and water just kind of sits. And as you can see, well, I don't know if you can see, but it's been 2 days since we got rain, and it's still very mushy. So anyways, it helps with drainage. It helps with like warming up the soil. So because that's up a little bit, it kind of separates the landmass, if that makes sense. And it allows those mounds to warm up a little faster. And then, it's going to encourage like deeper root growth. So I'm sure there's more reasons than that, but that's why I understand to do it, and I've wanted to do it, and I just haven't in the past. So I'm trying to make the most use of my time because, like everybody else in this trade, procrastination is just detrimental. So I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna let you guys kind of watch and see what I'm doing, and if you got suggestions, please share, because I'm just kind of winging this and making it work with the tools I've got. So. All right, guys, so that was one row. Let me get a better hold on you. There we go. All right, so that was one row. This garden is 30 feet long by, it's actually just shy of 30 foot wide by 40 foot long. It's actually like 2 or 3 inches shy of being 40, but it's what it's supposed to be. And that one row took me, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. But of course, this soil has been worked. Well, I mean, I honestly shouldn't even call it soil. This is straight clay. There's some soil. I've spent 2 years trying to add organic matter back into the mix without spending a ton of money. And some of that's been putting the old chicken manure that's composted on it. And I've never really let it fully compost before tossing it in. Just kind of let it break down later. And then we had one load of mulch that a buddy of mine helped bring in the very first year. And since then, I haven't had any. And I've signed up for services like chip drop. I've never had any delivered. At this point, I've put in there that I'd pay for it. But, you know, I don't want to pay like huge amounts of money, and haven't had much luck with some of the local services being willing to come out here, because we live a little bit out, you know, outside of town. So at some point I'm gonna just break down and buy it because I need it. But that was a squirrel moment. So in this garden, the upper side has got a little bit more soil, and the further you get down towards this end, it's becoming more and more clay. And this is a little bit downhill. So I'm going to show you some of the quality, and maybe you'll understand why I'm kind of taking extra effort to make the most of what little bit of soil I do have. And the only goal really is to continue improving on the garden each year. So our first year was not great. We had some good stuff, but it wasn't great. The second year was honestly better than I expected. It still wasn't like a phenomenal output, but better. So the goal is to just keep that trend. And this is one of those steps. So starting down here at the low end, as you can see, this is largely clay, and this is the hill that I just kind of shoveled out. And as you can see, the further down we get, the more it sort of becomes soft and soil-like, you know, a little bit darker colors instead of that deep red clay. And this up on this end is much more manageable, and frankly, gonna grow better. So that corner is probably where I've spent the most, you know, just adding stuff in because it's convenient. And then that corner down there is probably our least productive part of the garden. So, and then I've still got some that's breaking down from last year that honestly I should have mounded up, and now it's kind of taken over by grass and stuff. But we're not going to talk about that. Okay, so the next thing I want to try is to see if this thing will help break down some of that clay into little smaller pieces and not be so chunky, so that these mounds are like not just big craters and like mountainous looking things. They're like, you know, a pliable mound. So it's not really what this is made for. It's really it's made for weeding, but it kind of tills. So let's see how it goes. You grow rocks. Honestly, I don't know what I was expecting, but it's not bad. It's not necessarily great. It's not bad either. It's definitely working on the stuff that's already kind of broken down. Not so much on the stuff that's heavy clay. The clay just turns into rubble. So the reason we originally bought this was to run down the rows, in between rows rather, to help weed the garden, because that's what it's made for. So, and it works pretty good for that as long as you stay on top of it. If you let it get too far ahead, this ain't gonna cut it. In case you haven't already figured it out, I am not a master gardener. I did not go to school for any of that kind of stuff. I'm just somebody who, well, has a willingness and a desire to learn and get better at it. And I want to share some of these maybe more frugal or what I think are beginner level lessons to help others like me who are just trying to get something started and, you know, share lessons learned. So these are cheap, equipment is not. And, you know, if you got access to the better stuff, use it. But for those of you that don't, hopefully some of these lessons will help. All right, guys. So I'm not going to bore you with the rest of this. I got one more row to do. I'm going to try to shape this one that I just did. But the purpose of this is just to kind of show you guys the progress that can be made when you're starting out from scratch on ground that hasn't had a garden in it. This property used to be all old cropland, and so a lot of this soil is gone and it's just clay dirt left, and I'm trying to regenerate that soil, but I also want to grow a garden at the same time, and it just takes time, and you got to compromise a little bit. And so you know, this is hopefully an encouragement to see. And if you guys haven't seen our gardens from the last few years, I've had videos on the progress of those gardens and kind of the results each year. And I'm not like weighing stuff out necessarily, but you know, you can kind of see how it goes. So stick with us and we'll see how the garden goes this year. And yeah, hopefully you guys have learned a little bit of something. And if you've got anything to contribute, please do. And hopefully we can help each other out. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna get back to this, and you guys have a blessed day, and I'll catch up with you next time. Thanks.